What fact is equally fascinating and terrifying? Story 1, that when a whale dies out at sea, eventually they can sink to the bottom and continue decomposing. The body creates an entire little ecosystem of its own down on the ocean floor. It's absolutely incredible how the death cycles right back into life. It's called a whale fall if you want to look it up. They're incredibly hard to find due to the ocean size. When they are found, they're recorded and checked on over time. Currently, there's one somewhere off the coast of Cali that was found in 2018 or 2019, I think. There's videos on YouTube of the marine biologists who found it checking on it each year. And you can see how the whale decomposes over time. It's awesome. At least I think it is, but I'm a tad weird. Story 2, split brain syndrome. When the nerves between the left and right hemispheres of the brain are severed. One hemisphere controls one eye, one ear, one hand. The other controls one eye, one ear, one hand, and speech capability. One hemisphere can communicate verbally, and the other can't. They can even disagree with each other. This calls into question what actually counts as you and could indicate the presence of an other within your own mind. CGP Grey has a really great video on YouTube about it. Fascinating and terrifying. Story 3, every second, about 120 black holes are born. More stars are dying, and we are coming closer to the degenerate era. With the death of the last sun, the age of starlight comes to an end. All that's left is cold, lifeless planets, neutron stars, white dwarfs, brown dwarfs, and black holes. Lots of them. The black holes will eat everything until they are all that is left, and then they will eat each other. But eventually, over time, Hawking radiation will slowly disintegrate them until they die in a burst of light. Then, the very last black hole will die 10 trillion years from now. Entropy stops increasing. Everything reaches the same temperature, and the universe is empty and dark. Nothing happens, and it keeps not happening. Time is meaningless. In the universe's entire life, life is only possible for 1,000th of a billion billion billionth, billion billion billionth, billion billion billionth of a percent. To think the universe is almost 14 billion years old, and we are nowhere even remotely close to its death, where it won't go out in a fiery bang, but an icy whimper. Story 4. Killer whales, orcas, are the only aquatic predators of moose, and they will also go after great white sharks, specifically for their livers, but they will never go after humans because they see and know that we're similar. Orcas have denser and wrinklier brains than humans, making them have the wrinkliest brains of any animal. Killer whales have cultures and languages. In fact, there is a small population of orcas that actively trains themselves, and their young, to beach themselves in such a fashion that they can catch sea lions and get back into the water safely. There are only a few who do this, though. Story 5, blood types. Not only AB0 and RH system, there are many more types of antigens that can make transfusion really complicated. It always fascinated me how and also why we evolved to create them. Just a few molecules, and it can cause creation of antibodies if the recipient does not have that antigen. Sometimes it happens and it's mostly almost harmless, just fever, and the recipient survives without problems. But from time to time, I work in a blood bank, hear about really nasty reactions, sometimes even death. Yes, people nowadays are killed by transfusion less than in history when there was little to know about it, but it still happens. The more we know, the more we can prepare. But in some cases, we just don't have a perfect bag for the recipient, yet it still must be given, because another option is certain death. What we also see quite often is hemolytic disease of the newborn. Basically, the mother unknowingly creates antibodies against the red blood cells of her baby, slowly killing it. To survive, the baby must be given blood, which is also risky because you basically have to stick a needle into the umbilical cord, and in some cases it can cause abortion. Some mothers must go through this multiple times, risking the life of their baby multiple times, yet also knowing that they are killing them, and it's the only way to save them. It is fascinating how much we can do to save people, yet terrifying to see that sometimes it's still not enough. Story 6. Humans have become so technologically advanced that our health sciences have basically stopped us from evolving. People with health defects that would have killed off a primitive hunter-gatherer persist on can and live full-length, healthy lives. This being said, we're on track to heavily overpopulate the Earth in the near future. As bountiful as our land may be, it's still limited in resources. It's all up to the current generations on how the Earth will survive for the next couple hundred years. On a marginally better note, populations have been observed to be self-correcting. The methods or reasons, however, are a little sad. Story 766,000 U.S. hospital visits a year are due to infections and diseases spread by domestic house cat scratches and bites that are prevalent in over 97% of cats worldwide. They also kill 300 birds a year on average per cat, not to mention the rodent population. Bonus: They knock things over because they get bored, and they also choose not to listen to you. But when dogs do it, we discipline them. Why don't we discipline cats? They're the only cat that will attack you just for the hell of it. And this is exactly why I despise cats in all their annoying fluffiness, and I will never understand why people keep them. Story 8. The Japanese army had a secret biological warfare research unit in Manchuria called Unit 731. The unit was known for carrying out some of the most notorious and illegal war crimes led by Japan. On October 4th, 1940, Japan's secret unit had dropped a bomb on a small city in China, Kuzhou, of fleas infested with the plague, killing everyone there. However, in 1941, a railway worker brought this plague from Kuzhou to the city of Yiwu, which caused more than 1,000 people to die from this plague within a year. Story 9. Most people know that dogs have a really good sense of smell, but I recently did some research into the full extent of it. 40% of the brain goes entirely to their sense of smell. They have a completely different organ that is designed purely to take in the smell, separately from the oxygen they breathe. Unlike humans, we process it together. To put this into perspective, we can taste a teaspoon of sugar in our coffee. They could smell a teaspoon of sugar inside 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. A cancer alert dog kept marking one mole on a woman's arm. They had already tested it, and it was negative. They decided to retest due to the dog's behavior and found an incredibly small fraction of a cancer cell in the spot. Story 10. Natural redheads, of which I am one, have a genetic resistance to anesthesia, plus unusually high tolerance for pain. I guess the latter is to compensate for the former. Anyway, that's why I always had a terrible fear of the dentist. They'd give me the normal dose of Novocaine, then think I was lying when I said it didn't work. Fun times. Knew I finally found the right dentist when he walked in, took one look at me, and told the tech to load up 4 times the Novocaine, what he called the Redhead dose, and I've never had to feel that pain again. Story 11. The James Webb Space Telescope launching later this week is so insanely sensitive, it boggles the mind. Some of the things it will be looking at will be 20 times dimmer than looking at a 5-watt light bulb on the moon, even with its massive 6-meter, 20-foot diameter main mirror. Just a single photon of light will be hitting it per second from the target. To put that into perspective, if you look up at a reasonably bright star, even with your pupil being just 8 mm across, probably upwards of 1 million photos are striking your eye just from that star every second. Story 12. In Rwanda, witchcraft is considered cheating in sports, especially in association football, soccer if you're from the USA, Japan, and Australia, etc. The punishment, if caught, ranges from fine to suspension. This was due to many complaints from other teams about such usage. In 2016, Musa Kamara was playing for Rayon Sports when he ran to the goal of rival Mukura. It wasn't clear, but the goalie caught camera and informed the rest of Mukura. A chase got involved, but Kamara got away. Mukura complained that Kamara went to Harry Potter. There is footage of this, mostly in French though, with the commentary team laughing. While it sounds petty, in countries like Rwanda, witchcraft is taken seriously. Story 13. Some of Hitler's worst enemies in World War II were balloons. During mid to late World War II, the Allies set up a plan called the Ghost Army, composed of talented artists, voice actors, and movie play set designers. They would create highly realistic fake tanks, usually inflatable, and have the actors accidentally leak a plan of attack to the German over the radio. The Allies would go where they said they'd be over the radio way ahead of time and set up their fake war equipment. Usually these were decked out with more fake radio calls and a speaker playing a recording of tanks. The German would roll in, rain hellfire upon the scene, only to realize that they just shot a bunch of cardboard and balloons. While this was happening, the Allies would scramble to a critical point that's unoccupied, since the German were being bamboozled. Story 14. This may not seem like much, but it blew my mind when I first learned it. What do you think is the animal group or subphylum vertebrates? Hagfish, sharks, bony fish, amphibians, reptiles, humans, etc. are most closely related to. It's not cephalochordata, which is composed of almost transparent animals very similar in shape to fish fry, but Urochordata, aka sea squirts. They're jar-like marine filter feeders and the only animals capable of making cellulose, which up to that point was believed to be exclusive to plants and algae. The absolute closest relatives to all vertebrates are not the strikingly fish-shaped ones, but the things that can make cellulose and look like a mix between an alien and a clay vase gone wrong. Story 15. The tradition of happy hour specials at bars originated in a malaria outbreak in England. The only effective treatment was quinine. Quinine is in tonic water asterisk. Quinine tastes horrific unless mixed with something like gin. And so the tradition was born to gather with friends and family every evening before dinner to get your daily dose of quinine in the form of a gin and tonic, in both a misery loves company kind of way and a social peer pressure. Everybody encourages everybody to take their medicine kind of way. Story 16. The color blue is the last to develop in every language. Homer's The Iliad doesn't have the word blue at all, even though it talks about the sea a lot. It calls it wine dark. Also, William Henry Harrison, the 9th President of the United States of America, was literally flawless as president. He gave the longest inaugural address at 8,845 words, but had the shortest presidency at 31 days. All he did was pick the governor of the Iowa Territory, so he made no mistakes. Ergo flawless. He is the only president to have a grandson be president, Benjamin Harrison. Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd president, is the only president to have the preceding and succeeding president be the same person, Grover Cleveland. Benjamin Harrison is also the last president to have a beard, which means that since him we've had 23 presidents without a beard. What a shame. After him, William Howard Taft, the 27th president, was the last to have facial hair. Step it up, men. I have that speech memorized for just such occasions. I like to think I have ordered these from least holy crap as to most. So, here's the summit of my surprising facts. I have a wife. Poor woman somehow got all confused and said yes to marry me, even though I'm pretty sure she didn't understand what the question was. Anyway, have a blessed day. Story 17. If you travel at the speed of light, somehow, then the universe will be two-dimensional to you. The entirety of the third dimension, in the direction of your travel, is compressed to infinitesimally short, to zero. Therefore, you don't even travel from A to B, A and B occupy the same physical space. Now that you're at the speed of light, you're already there. No time passes for you getting from A to B because you're already there. Of course, it looks different to an outside observer. To an outside observer, a grown man in his room in a tinfoil spacesuit and a broken Thrustmaster steering wheel yelling, "I'm already here," looks pretty weird. Story 18. The James Webb Telescope will be able to see further than our current observable universe, at least in theory. The reason is that it can observe much longer waves that have traveled longer distances because of its infrared cameras. It basically will break science if we'll be able to see further, because that will only mean there is no such thing as an observable asterisk universe. It's just the technology that is required to observe it all is not yet created. Story 19. The first radio waves that were transmitted from Earth at a powerful enough strength to be possibly heard from nearby star systems were the 1936 Berlin Olympics, headed by Adolf Hitler. So far, they have only spread 76 light-years away. The Milky Way is 1,000,000 to 1,200,000 light-years in diameter. We are approximately 27K light-years away from the galactic center. The light from the sun that shone in the sky the day that Jesus was crucified hasn't even reached the center of the galaxy. If a person were to stand on a planet in the Polaris, the North Star system, and be able to look at the Earth through a telescope, America hasn't been founded yet, and Mary, Queen of Scots, has just been executed. Sir Francis Drake is currently circling the world at this same point last galactic year, which is how long it takes our solar system to orbit the Milky Way. Neither pterodactyls, triceratops, nor Tyrannosaurus rexes had evolved yet. Story 20. At this exact moment, someone else is dying. Someone is giving birth. A child is taking their first step. A mother is yelling at her child. A war is going on. Someone is falling in love. Someone is getting a divorce. Someone was just told their cancer is in remission. Someone is being diagnosed with it. Someone is making love. Two people are getting married. Someone just lost their child, best friend or parent. Someone is being incarcerated while someone is being set free. Someone just found God, while another lost all faith. There's 7 billion people on the earth, and I'm just one of them. Story 21. I have 3, and all 3 are physically painful to read and write down because I'm so afraid they're true or going to happen. Either that, I'll go into college and have no idea what to study. And if I do study something, I'll be mediocre because my mind keeps telling me that even though I get A's in all my classes, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of person. I'll still never be good enough at a single thing to actually have a successful career. And secondly, that by the time we actually get in contact with other sentient life in our galaxy, I'll either be long dead or really old and unable to really enjoy it, compared to if I was young and in my prime. Lastly, that I'll get Alzheimer's disease before they're able to find a cure, effective treatment, and I'll start to lose my memories and personality until I'm just a husk of what I once was. I'll become less than how I once was and become a burden to my family and loved ones, and probably live my last 20 years because of it. This is a legitimate concern because my grandma had it, and that there's a 50-50 chance that my mom might have it. And if she does, then there's a 50-50 chance that I have it too. Story 22. The possibility that we do not have free will, which I personally believe to be true, that we are just walking, thinking, albeit sophisticated machines. Recently, I heard a Radiolab episode titled Loops, for those interested, which included a woman who temporarily suffered from transient global amnesia. This condition temporarily inhibits you from creating new memories. When the woman was visited by her daughter, they had the same conversation for 2.5 hours straight, down to her mannerism. It makes for a good case that we are just input-output machine, and it completely creeps me out. Shudders. Story 23. The inevitability and still the doubt. There are two big theories on how the universe will end, and both are so utterly successful at destroying any hope or belief in a meaning of life that it is better for you to stop reading here. Well, you wanted it. The big crunch. All will end when the universe contracts and goes back to the infinitely small point where it all began. Everything we could ever do or say will be futile. There is no chance at all for humanity or any life whatsoever. The infinite expansion. The universe will keep expanding infinitely. The distance between stars will grow so far that the resources in a solar system will not be enough anymore to visit the next. The suns will all die slowly over time, eliminating the last light and warmth-giving flickers in an endlessly expanding dead and quiet universe. All that life will first be caught in a solar system and then die rapidly when all resources are used up and the star dies. That is the end. All that we can ever do or think will have been pointless, caught in one dead solar system for eternity. In short, life is so incredibly meaningless and futile that there is nothing in the world you can even try to create meaning for your own existence. And we don't even know in which way it is meaning. All we know is that it is, that it must be because it cannot be otherwise. Camus said it best. A man who has once seen the absurd will never again escape it. You are welcome. Story 24. I become really freaked out when I think about myself, that my entire consciousness is contained within a small, soft, squishy ball of gray matter, and other things I haven't learned about yet, is a huge source of uneasiness to me. To think that all of my memories, all of my feelings, everything that makes me, me, can be found in a poorly protected, easily injured glob of mass inside my head, I honestly get a little panicky. Another thing I notice is that sometimes my brain will suggest I do the absolute worst possible thing. If I'm driving, my brain will say something like, "Hey, businessman Vader, hey, wouldn't it be funny if you just didn't stop at that red light? Or if you just swerved into the other lane and hit that tractor trailer head on? Wouldn't that be great?" I am honestly not suicidal at all. I really enjoy my life, but it definitely gives me a pit in my stomach because I realize how easily I could kill others. Or I will walk into a room and immediately size up everyone there. I'm a pretty big guy, but I'm in no way a fighter, and my mind will still look and try to determine who could stop me if I went on a rampage. This scares me because in a lot of rooms, there isn't that other guy-girl that could take me down. I'm not an overly violent person, never been in a fight, but that's what my mind does. Just my 2 cents. Story 25. A few things that drive me crazy or make me feel awful. The beginning of the universe. Whatever your belief, whether it be that someone created the universe or whether it was the Big Bang or whatever else, I always think that surely at some point there had to be nothing. Surely there was nothing around whatsoever. It's hard to comprehend nothingness, but if there was nothing around, how did something actually come into existence? I just find it hard to comprehend that one tiny atom or molecule or a person existed and things continued from there. How can something just have existed at the start of time? Our current lives. Again, it changes your beliefs, but there is a good chance that this is the only life you may get. I like my life. I like the people around me, my friends, my family, and the situation I'm in. I'm content with it. We grow older and the people around us will inevitably disappear. And by that I mean friendships don't last forever. Think in regards to primary school, high school, college, and university. We meet loads of people, and we make friends with them. But for whatever reason, you don't stay in touch with them. As time goes on, you lose more and more friends as people move away or you do or whatever. I just think as time passes, it is sad that I don't get to stay in touch with these people, or they don't really feel the need to stay in touch either. It's hard when that person you were close friends with in year N is now slowly fading out of your life. And no matter what you do, you can't stay in touch with them because they aren't really all that bothered. Further to that point, death. If we die, is that it? How depressing would that be? That after we die, there's nothing, that we just disappear, and we'll never know about anything ever again. If not, and we reincarnate or something else, would that not also be depressing? In my case, it would. Like I said, I like my life at the moment. Although it's a meaningless point, as I would be none the wiser. I don't like to think about not knowing about the people I have in my life at the moment. Neither do I like to think about not knowing about the experiences I've had so far in my life. There's more things, but I'll leave it at that.